Hey again, it's Clinton, and I'm back with more Destiny. In the background here you have a Clash match. I'm using the Titan for once. And yeah, today is more of a grab bag of topics. I didn't want to commentate on this gameplay specifically, except to say that it was a good one. I've been having a rough go at Crucible lately, and that's more due to lack of practice. I've been doing a lot of leveling up my Icebreaker. Finally got that maxed out, leveling the Last Word, then the Thorn, then Hawkmoon 2.0, leveling a lot of exotic weapons, and then finally I've just been collecting a lot of Crucible bounties, and now finally I'm kind of starting to check them off the list. And so yeah, there's some good gameplay. I'm playing some Clash for a change as well, and it's nice. I enjoy the shorter play sessions with Clash. Matches will go about like 8 minutes tops, I find, as opposed to Control, which can go for like 11 or 12 minutes sometimes. So in this episode, I just wanted to touch on a few topics. That's the problem now, where I'm only posting videos once a week. I either have too much I want to talk about and cover, or I'm sort of adrift and I'm sort of reaching for something to cover. So this week is one of those weeks where I'm backlogged on topics. So a lot of this is sort of old news now, and I apologize. But the first thing I want to talk about is the topic of cheesing. It's been sort of a hot topic for pretty much as long as Destiny's been around, as long as gaming's been around, you might say. Cheesing specifically in PvE. In terms of PvP, I believe there's a very strict, defined boundary that you don't cross. There's a moral boundary in PvP. You don't cheat, you don't take advantage of glitches, because it's a competitive environment, and come on, you're trying to be a good sports person, a good sportsman, and I think deep down inside all of us, we know when we're doing something incorrect or flat out wrong in a competitive game. So in terms of PvP, if you're glitching through walls, if you're exploiting the map somehow in order to gain an advantage, that is wrong. I think that's pretty clear cut in 99% of the cases. Now, we're talking about cheesing in PvE. There's been a lot of talk about, like, well, what is the proper way to do such and such, whether it be in the raids or in the strikes. Personally, from my experience, well, you know, I've had experience doing some of the raids. I've completed Volta class a few times now, and I gotta say, more than half those times, I've used sort of cheese-like tactics to get through certain parts. The platforming section, to this day, I do not do that quote-unquote as intended, I think, by the developers. There's a time when you could cheese a Templar battle, and then I remember jumping into a game midstream. Everyone in the group was like, let's just cheese a Templar battle and save some time, and I was pretty much along for the ride. I wasn't gonna make a fuss over it, so we just cheesed it. And the end result was we got to finish the raid a lot faster, and everyone got the rewards and went on their merry way. So when it comes to PvE, I'm sorry, you know, cheesing is just this weird thing where it's like, sometimes, you know, before I said, well, what the developers intended, sometimes that can be a very fuzzy thing to define, because we don't know what's going through the heads of these developers. And, you know, sort of like with PvP, you sort of know when something's not right. The way an encounter is scripted, or when you glitch into certain parts of the map, it can be pretty obvious sometimes. At the same time, you know, you're doing these strikes. Let's say you're doing some of these weekly strikes, and I'll just take, for example, Vogoth. I featured the Summoning Pit strike a number of times now on this channel. You know, that small room right before entering the main chamber, they could close that off, you know, and not allow you to hide in there and peg guys from the doorway, but they don't, right? And to me, that's a valid tactic to stay in that room, to shoot out into the main room. Now, other people will say, well, that's not what they intended. They wanted you to get into the main arena and duke it out use your wits, use your teamwork, and just jump around, change levels, take cover, and then circulate around the arena. And I have played that way before when I've been above level on the strike, but on, say, the Nightfall strike, where, you know, any mistake can mean disaster. That means you just end up. That can mean the difference between completing the strike and going back to orbit, right? With those sort of high stakes, yeah, I'm gonna take the safest possible. I'm gonna choose the safest possible tactic. So I would say, well, just for me personally, this is not me trying to influence your stance in any way on cheesing, but I think it's important to understand that there are consequences, just like anything you do in real life, any decisions you make in the real world. Communication is important, and just understanding the consequences is important. So if you choose to use a questionable tactic to get through a PvE challenge, just make sure everyone on the fire team is on the same page and everyone is gonna be okay with it, because it's a group experience at that point. If you're doing it by yourself, then fine, you only have yourself to worry about. And another thing to consider is that should the Bungie developers decide a certain tactic is exploitative and you don't want it to be part of the game anymore, and they remove it, then you have to be aware that you're not going to be able to use that method in the future, and you have to learn to do it another way, and then you have to adapt. So that's just the way it is. You either adapt or you get left behind, and really that's all it is at the end of the day. And for me, that's part of the fun, really, of the community and of having that relationship with the developers, the creator and user relationship, where the creator put something out, they had a vision in their mind, and then they don't really see the fruition of that final vision until they've actually had people push and pull and yank at it. Not just a few people, we're talking about millions of people playing their content and testing it in various ways. So I think that is part of the awesome experience of video games, really. And to sort of shame people into not, say, quote-unquote cheesing a game, I don't know, it's play how you want to play, but make sure you're not impacting other people's enjoyment. So actually, I come to the end of this video already. I thought I was gonna get on to 2 other small topics, but hey, I'm long-winded. I tend to talk a lot about, drag things out a bit, if you may have noticed. But I will say thanks for watching. I had some good gameplay. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll come back next week with maybe some more focused talk about something. So until then, yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.